Governor Gina Raimondo announces her choice to lead Rhode Island schools. Today, Dr. Ken Wagner was introduced as the governor's nominee to become Rhode Island's new education commissioner. He was chosen following a nationwide search to replace longtime former commissioner Deborah Gist. And now we're bringing you in-depth coverage, and who better to talk about the new commissioner than WPRI.com reporter Dan McGowan. Dan, as always, thank you for being with us. So Dr. Wagner comes to us from New York. Tell us a little bit about what he did there.
Yeah, sure. So he's got spent his entire career in New York. He started out, he was elected to his local town school board while he was still in high school. The New York Times profiled him, and it was a big deal at the time. Went to Hofstra University, your alma mater, and stayed there ever since. He worked as a school psychologist, then he was a middle school principal before kind of transitioning over to the New York State Department of Education, and he worked his way up to being the senior deputy commissioner of policy in that department, which is really, one of the highest jobs you could have.
So quite the history to boast about. Now, Commissioner Gist clashed with the teachers union on several issues. So where does Dr. Wagner stand on some of those?
I think you're going to see a very similar approach, or at least a very similar views on how to handle education. I think they have very similar views when it comes to charter schools, when it comes to testing, things like that, and teacher evaluations especially. What's going to be different, I think, this time is that I think that Governor Raimondo and I think now Ken Wagner have kind of heard the complaints from teachers, from parents about sort of the lack of openness at RIDE, lack of transparency, things like that. I think he's going to be very committed to being collaborative and really trying to keep his door open to people.
Now, other than issues with the teachers union, what other things do you think he's going to face in his tenure? It's not an easy job.
No, it's definitely not. And he's got three things kind of right off the bat. One, as we just said, he's got to kind of repair relationships with the teachers unions. It's been a very contentious couple of years with Deborah Gist there. So that's, right off the bat, he's got to sit down with those guys and really figure that part out. Then he's got a big charter school situation. We've talked a little bit about this in the last couple of weeks. Governor Raimondo, I talked to her today. She says she wants to revisit the education funding formula, figure out a way to make it fair for charter schools to exist and traditional public schools to exist. And the last part is the PARCC exam. We're going to get those test results back at the end of in October, and there's going to be lots of blowback based on the results. So he's going to have to handle that right away.
It'll be interesting to see how that background of his kind of takes its part in handling all these
Absolutely,
issues.
But if anyone can do it, a Hofstra grad can.
Absolutely. All right, WPRI.com reporter Dan McGowan, thank you. And you can read Dan's complete report on Rhode Island's new education commissioner right now on our website, WPRI.com. It's 12 things you should know about Dr. Ken Wagner.